The U.S. is sending F-35 fighter jets to the Caribbean. Tesla puts $1 trillion payday on the table for Elon Musk. And overseas, Putin is threatening NATO. And for trivia, which state is home to the longest car tunnel in the United States? I'll have the answer at the end of the show. It's Saturday, September 6th, and this is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Hello and welcome. I'm Amy Hess, your weekend host, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. Happy Saturday. Whew, I don't know about you, but it has been a week. I am so looking forward to the weekend. Before we dive in, a quick note. We're working toward a big goal of surpassing 10,000 followers on YouTube. I know many of you tune in on Apple, Spotify, and other great platforms, and we're so thankful for that. But if you could also take a moment to head over to our YouTube channel and hit that follow button, it would mean a lot as we continue to grow this community. All right, now let's get to the news you need to know in 15 minutes or less with none of the spin. Get ready for takeoff. First, the United States is sending 10 F-35 fighter jets to Puerto Rico as part of its growing effort to fight drug cartels in the Caribbean. This comes just days after a lethal U.S. strike destroyed a boat the White House said was carrying a dozen Venezuelan narco-terrorists. On Thursday, 2 Venezuelan F-16s flew over the USS Jason Dunham in what Pentagon officials say was a show of force. The Trump administration has already deployed at least 7 additional battleships, plus more than 4,000 Marines and sailors to the region. The F-35s, the military's most advanced jets, are expected to arrive next week. Next up, Tesla is putting an unprecedented pay package on the table for CEO Elon Musk. The deal could be worth up to $1 trillion. Yes, trillion with a T. And it's designed to keep Musk focused on the struggling company. The first hurdle? Tesla would need to reach a $2 trillion market valuation and boost vehicle deliveries to 20 million, up from fewer than 2 million in 2024. For Musk to unlock the full payout, Tesla would eventually need to hit an $8.5 trillion market cap, plus put 1 million robo-taxis and 1 million AI bots into commercial operation. Musk would also have to stay on at least 7.5 years for any stock payout and 10 years for the full amount. And one more thing, the entire plan still requires shareholder approval. And finally, a new chart from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows how salaries shift across a career. Teen workers aged 16 to 19 earn a median of $33,280, about half the national median of $62,192. Pay rises quickly in the 20s and 30s, reaching about $59,228 for workers aged 25 to 34. Salaries peak between ages 45 and 54 at $70,824, reflecting career stability and leadership roles before dipping slightly through the 50s and early 60s. Interestingly, workers over 65 still earn a median of $62,296, a little more than professionals in their late 20s and early 30s. Want to see the chart for yourself? We have it linked in today's show notes. Next, let's take a closer look at what's making waves in Washington. Immigration agents carried out the largest single-site enforcement action in Homeland Security's history this week, arresting 475 people at a Hyundai facility in Georgia. Most of those taken into custody were South Korean nationals. Officials say the sweep is part of a broader push to enforce worksite immigration laws. At the White House, big tech made some big promises. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg and Apple CEO Tim Cook pledged to invest at least $600 billion in the U.S. over the next few years. The comments came during a special White House dinner with some of the world's most powerful tech executives. Meanwhile, CBS is changing its approach after criticism over how Face the Nation edited an interview with Homeland Security Kristi Noem. The network now says all interviews will either air live or live to tape in an effort to avoid misleading editing issues that fueled the controversy. And finally, President Trump is reportedly weighing an unexpected pick for ambassador to Saudi Arabia, New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Reports say Adams is under pressure to drop his re-election bid against challenger Zohran Mamdani. If he accepts a diplomatic post, it could shake up New York's political landscape. I'd like to thank today's sponsor, David. David makes a protein bar unlike any other. It has 28 grams of protein, only 150 calories, and 0 grams of sugar. That's right, 28 grams of protein, and 75% of its calories come from protein. These bars from David have some amazing flavors. The Flyover team loves chocolate chip cookie dough, but there's an uprising. Team Cinnamon Roll is close behind. The bars are an office favorite. Personally, I strive to eat mostly whole foods. However, when I'm in a rush or I'm away from home or I'm just looking for a quick afternoon snack, I often find that I'm looking for a high-quality protein source. With David, you can get 28 grams of protein with the calories of a snack, which makes it very easy to hit protein goals, which, if you don't know, is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight each day. All without excess calories. It's so easy to grab one in the early afternoon or even mid-afternoon to bridge that gap between lunch and dinner. If you'd like to try David, you can go to davidprotein.com or just click the link in the show notes. And when you buy 4 boxes, you get the 5th one for free. Now, here are some extra stories just for you, our podcast listener. You won't find these in the email. First up, the United States job market hit a bit of a speed bump in August. Payrolls rose by just 22,000, way below the 75,000 economists were expecting. Unemployment crept up to 4.3%. July gains were revised higher, but June actually showed a net loss. Healthcare and social assistance added jobs, while manufacturing, wholesale trade, and government shed them. All of this puts a little more heat on the Federal Reserve, which is widely expected to cut interest rates later this month. From the economy to a crime story with a gaming twist. A Long Island man is accused of running a 7-year counterfeit scheme, selling more than $2 million in fake Nintendo gear through Amazon. Prosecutors say 34-year-old Isaac Lapidus used multiple seller accounts to push bogus Switch accessories and even Pokemon devices. Authorities seized boxes stacked with knockoff merchandise, complete with the wrong codes and serial numbers. Lapidus has pleaded not guilty, but if convicted, he could face up to 15 years in prison. And finally, this one has my house buzzing. Darth Vader's lightsaber just sold at auction for more than $3.6 million. The iconic prop used in both The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi was the primary dueling saber for Vader, the same one used in that legendary I Am Your Father scene. It was wielded on set by both David Prowse and stuntman Bob Anderson. The auction house had estimated it would go for between $1 and $3 million, but the final price blew past that. Signs of wear, cracks, and broken grips confirmed its heavy use on set. As a house full of Star Wars fans, we're geeking out a little bit over here. I guess you could say the force was strong with this auction. All right, still ahead, we'll check the markets as the week wrapped up and then take you beyond our borders with a look at Putin's latest warning, a deadly crash in Portugal, and political shakeups in the UK. But first, here's finance. Now let's check the markets as they closed out Friday. The Nasdaq slipped just 0.03%. The S&P 500 fell 0.32%. The Dow dropped 0.48%. Bitcoin managed a gain, up 0.65%, and gold led the way higher, climbing 2.20% to close at $3,644.40 an ounce. Time now for Beyond Our Borders, where we take a look at the top headlines from around the world. Russian President Putin is warning NATO that any military forces stationed in Ukraine would be considered legitimate targets. His remarks Friday escalate tensions just as peacekeepers were being discussed as part of a potential ceasefire. In Portugal, officials have not yet released the names of the 16 people killed in Friday's funicular crash that also injured more than 20 others. Reports say at least one American and 3 Britons are among the dead. And in the UK, populist leader Nigel Farage declared that Britain's main parties are in meltdown. He says a potential reformed UK government would push tougher immigration and policing policies to, quote, make Britain great again. Time to check the scoreboard. Here's what's going on in sports. Tough news for the Indiana Fever. Superstar rookie Caitlin Clark announced she'll miss the rest of the WNBA season while she recovers from quad and groin injuries. Clark averaged 16.5 points and 8.8 assists during the 2025 season, making her one of the league's brightest young stars. Now the Fever will have to finish the season without her. Over to the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers squared off last night in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's the second year in a row the league has hosted a game there, part of its push to grow football internationally. Want to see the final score? We'll have it linked in the show notes. And one more from the NFL, Philadelphia Eagles lineman Jalen Carter is apologizing after being ejected from Thursday night's game against the Cowboys. Carter spit on quarterback Dak Prescott, sparking outrage from both fans and players. He says he's sorry, but the league is still deciding on any further discipline. Coming up are etc. stories, including a billion-plus powered jackpot, a teenager with a halibut that weighed more than he does, and big cuts at public broadcasting. Plus your poll position and today's trivia answer. Don't go anywhere. Let's wrap things up with a few headlines we thought you'd like to know. First, tonight's Powerball jackpot is worth an estimated $1.8 billion. That makes it the third largest in U.S. history, and if nobody hits all the numbers tonight, it could roll past $2 billion by Monday. Might be a good time to check your numbers, or in my case, actually play the lottery. It's definitely tempting. Up in New England, a New Hampshire teenager reeled in a 177-pound Atlantic halibut, a fish that weighed more than he does. He fought the monster catch for 30 minutes before bringing it aboard, and it could end up being a world record. Now that's a fish story worth bragging about. And the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is laying off 100 employees, roughly 15% of its staff. The move comes after Congress cut $500 million in annual taxpayer subsidies. And now it's time for Poll Position, where we turn the mic over to you. Yesterday we asked, do you regularly use paper checks? 48% said no, 44% said yes, and 8% said, what's a check? I'll admit I'm with the no crowd here, though every once in a while, I still find myself writing one. I know my father-in-law still prefers writing checks because he says it helps him see exactly what's going out of the bank account and makes him feel more in control. And I think there's really something to that. It's nice to kind of be slower and more intentional when you're handling money. Now for today's question, with that Powerball jackpot sitting at $1.8 billion, the question is, will you take a shot at tonight's drawing? Your choices are yes or no. Excited to see how you answered. You can answer in our email edition or with links in the show notes. I'll have the answer for you in tomorrow's show. All right, time's up. Here's today's trivia answer. But first, do you remember the question? Which state is home to the longest car tunnel in the United States? Drum roll, please. It's Alaska. The Anton Anderson Memorial Tunnel, better known as the Whittier Tunnel, runs 2.5 miles through Maynard Mountain. making it the longest highway tunnel in North America. It was originally built during World War II, and today it's the only road into the tiny port town of Whittier. And here's the twist. Cars and trains actually share the same single-lane tunnel, making turns on a timed schedule. Definitely not your average commute. That would probably freak me out just a little bit. I don't know. What do you think? All right, that's going to do it for today's Flyover. Thanks for spending part of your Saturday with me. And before I go, don't forget to check out yesterday's Feel Good Flyover episode. We had some great stories that you're not going to want to miss. It's the perfect way to head into the weekend with a little encouragement and a smile. I'll be back with you again tomorrow for another flight. Until then, safe travels.